The definition of resilience is the power or ability to adapt or return to a form or position after being stretched, compressed, or bent. Basically, elasticity. And resilience as a human attribute is limited. And being limited means that it's also finite. And position actually moves from one place to another. So in as much as the definition says it goes back, it really doesn't. Every time we go through some trauma, that position changes. And so does technology. Technology will change for as long as we are around. And for some of us, it's a good thing. Let me tell you a story. In 2004, right after the war, a young man decided that he wanted to take on a new journey in life. And that journey was to go back to Liberia to open a business, an information technology business, providing technology solutions and services. When he told his friends, they said, "You were crazy. Why would you want to go back to Liberia to start an IT business when there's no IT infrastructure in Liberia? There's no internet access. There's basically nothing. Why would you want to do that?" And the response was, "I want to make a difference, and I want to do it hands-on. We need people to build systems. We need people to use those systems. And in as much as it's difficult to find them, they are here. You just have to look hard, and like I said, keep your standards up, and you will find them. They're all in this room. They're all around the country." Resilience and ICT innovation can do two things. It gives us the ability for economic growth and also for sustainability. Now, resilience has a lot of characters, but the one I will talk about is that of redundancy. If you look at yourself, all the parts of our body, we have two except the reproductive organs. And it's for a reason. It's for resiliency. If something happens to one hand, you can use another. I know many of you probably write with your right hand or your left hand, but you've never tried writing with the other hand. But what happens if there's an incident or an accident and you can use that hand? You're basically stuck. So my advice to you tonight is every day, take a pencil and paper and write the alphabet from A to Z, because you never know when you will lose that other arm. So that will be your resiliency. When it comes to innovation, there are also some characteristics that you need to consider. But the thing we need to really do is to focus on data. Decision makers need data to make decisions. And if they don't have it, they won't be able to do what's needed to be done. Secondly, we need to do this collectively to set up an ICT innovation fund. And as I look around the room, I see some policy, I see some politicians, and I'm sure there are some decision makers here. So how can we do that? All our politicians can decide that they will give her 10% of their salary every month for a year. In addition to that, the executive can then match that, and then we as IT professionals can go out into the world and ask for matching funds so that we can have the funds required to do innovative things. So again, that is something with elections coming up, that is something we can definitely do and ask them if they will commit to an ICT innovation fund. Okay, let me give you an example of basic use of technology. Rwanda, similar to us in Africa, they went through their civil war, and one of the problems they had was women were dying in childbirth because they did not have blood. The roads were closed to the hospitals, familiar, and so they couldn't get there. Rwanda decided that they would use drones to deliver blood. I mean, futuristic, never happened anywhere in the world, but guess what? Something started in Africa. And if it started in Rwanda, we can do the same thing in Liberia. Okay, simple. All the hospital would do is, if you have a woman coming in, they would SMS to one of the nearest blood banks. They would then package it, and in 15 minutes, a drone would take it directly to a hospital. And guess what? The drone didn't land. It just dropped it, and with a parachute, and based on the GPS coordinates, that blood fell right where it was supposed to, and they took it, and guess what? They've reduced the mortality rate of women during childbirth. For me, that's innovation, that's thinking outside the box. Okay. ICT, in Liberia, we're lucky. ICT can give us the opportunity to leapfrog. We don't have to do things the way countries in the West did it. So we can leapfrog, and one of the big talk around these days is that of cloud computing. Everywhere you go, everybody talking about the cloud. It simply means you can either rent hardware or you can rent software. So basically, you focus on what you need to do as opposed to focusing on buying expensive hardware when you don't have the people that can even maintain it, or buying software that you can't maintain. Rent it. There's nothing that we'll be doing here that somebody hasn't written or can be written. So don't try to reinvent the wheel. Now, this is a photo or an image of a tool. It's a multi-purpose tool. But what we have to do is to be able to use the right tool for the right job. We've gone around where we see people using Excel as a data. In fact, they tell you, oh, we work in a database. And when you go, it's a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet. Or they tell you they're using word processing, and you find out they're using something else. We have to use the right tools for the job, and we also need to use the right people. You can't have, square pegs in round holes. If you use the right people and the right tools, you will definitely be able to make it. And what I can tell you today is that the tools are here and the people are here that can do that work. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'll give you some examples of products that have been developed by Liberian entities here. The first one is a product called Leap. And basically, think about it where you're in a classroom and the only thing that's used are tablets. The teachers have tablets, the students have tablets. So no longer do students have to carry heavy book bags with a lot of books. Everything is digitized, and that is a solution that's here today and is being piloted in certain schools. The goal is one of the things we use to actually gauge how we're performing is the WIAC. And so we believe if you start with the 6th grade, by the time they get to the 9th grade, I can guarantee you they will ace the WIAC. And we can also do it for 9th graders to 12th. So instead of doing an entire school, you do a pilot, you work out the kinks, and then you move forward. Another solution that was designed, and this was during the 2011 elections, was during elections, there's always this thought or this skepticism that somebody's going to cheat. No matter what you do, they will tell you people will cheat. And you ask them how, they can't tell you. So a solution was designed called on-time results. And basically all it was you had observers that were assigned at all the different polling stations. And all they would do by law, once the votes are counted at the end of the day, it's supposed to be posted on the wall, and it's public. So there's nothing wrong with somebody doing an SMS to send those results into a database. So I can tell you that within 24 hours, there's no reason why we can have an election in Liberia and we can't get the results. The issue is we must be willing to do it. America has a population of almost 300 million, and we got 3? And they can do their elections and have the results overnight. So why can't we do the same thing? It solves the problem, we have peace, and everybody's happy. Another solution that was designed, and this was during the Ebola, was a product called iRamp. Now, we have this thing that says that Liberians don't work together. But guess what? You had Liberian ICT companies coming together to design a product that could be used for fighting the Ebola. And basically, again, it was all based on SMS and also having a phone bank where you can call and give people information. We know what happened during the Ebola, and we knew, there were times where people were calling randomly about deaths, and there was no way to organize it, and this tool would have helped. And then, this is something some of you in this room can also realize, or at least you've used. There's a product called Cookbook. And basically, it's an online ordering system. I hear people clapping. Anybody here from Cookbook? Okay. Yes. All right. So, and it's a very innovative thing. When I was putting my slides together, to tell you the truth, I went online, it was Sunday, it was after 9, and it said we are closed. I'm like, oh, this is great. So basically what they do is if your business is closed, then it doesn't show up and it's not available, and they do deliver it. So for some of us who are tech heads, we don't have to leave the house. We just go online, order your food, and it's delivered. Okay. And this is something I want to leave you with. And it says, failure is not the opposite of success. It's a part of success. And no matter what we do, we will always have, if you don't fail, you don't succeed. Okay? If you don't fail, you will never ever succeed. Success comes with failure. You must also get away with negative thoughts. Don't say, I can't. Say, I can. And for the people that work for me, I tell them, I don't want to hear no. No is not a word in my vocabulary. You can't tell me no. There has to be a way it can be done.